So ECS1501, it is microeconomics. Economics is basically grouped into two main categories or two main branches. We have what is called microeconomics, and then we also have macroeconomics. So the 1501, it is microeconomics.
It's only about micro.
Yes, this one is just microeconomics. I will just tell you shortly the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. It's always good to know the difference between the two.
Right.
This module, it has got quite a number of study units that you have to consider. And in fact, there are 15 topics altogether. So it's quite a lot. But if you give yourself more time to go through them, you find that you can easily manage them and be prepared, thoroughly prepared for the exam.
Okay.
So topic number one, you're going to look at the study field of economics. We are going to look at what exactly we are studying in microeconomics. Then unit 2, it is the economics toolkit. You're going to see what that toolkit is. Then 3, we'll look at economic systems, production possibility curve, circular flow model or circular flow diagrams. We'll look at demand, supply, and prices, consumer and producer surplus, changes in demand and supply. Right? So these are the topics covered in study unit, rather in study guide number 1. Right? In study guide 2, it continues from topic 9, government intervention into markets, price, elasticity, other elasticities. You look at the theory of demand, marginal utility analysis. Then you look at theory of supply, cost of production, perfect and imperfect competition. And then lastly, you are going to consider the labor market. So it's quite an interesting subject, right? So let's go straight now to the difference between macroeconomics and microeconomics. I don't know, perhaps just using your prior knowledge, what is microeconomics? One with an I, micro.
Oh, from what I can understand about it.
Yes.
I think micro deals with the internal issues of the business, and then micro deals with the external.
With the external. Right. So the difference is in internal and external issues of a business. Did you say business?
Yes.
All right. Microeconomics is the study of individual decision making, resource allocation, and how price, production, as well as distribution of income is determined. So it's very important that you know exactly what microeconomics is all about. So as you can see, this is the study of individual decision making, right? Yeah. We are looking at decisions that are made at an individual level. We also look at the resource allocation. We also look at how price, production, as well as the distribution of income is determined.
Okay.
So that is what we are looking at in terms of microeconomics. We are looking at decisions made at an individual level. Right. You also look at pricing, production, distribution of income. Right. So it focuses upon individual economic agents consisting of households, firms, and government units. So here when we are saying that individuals are making decisions, who are those individuals that you are talking about? We are looking at households. Households, they make decisions as to resource allocation, the price that they want to buy a product for, and also how they're going to distribute their income, is it? So those are decisions made by households. Firms also, in a similar sense, they make decisions as to what products to produce, how to produce them, who is going to buy them, etc. Right. So those are decisions made at an individual level. Together with government units, they can also make decisions at an individual level. Right. So microeconomics, it emphasizes how individuals, right? In this case, when you say individuals, you mean households, how households, firms, and government units tries to maximize their unlimited ones given limited resources. So that is what we are looking at. How individuals would maximize their unlimited ones given limited resources. And hence, it is the study of scarcity and choice. That is what microeconomics is about. We are studying scarcity and choice.
Okay.
So on study unit number 1, after you've worked through this learning unit, these are the things that you should be able to do. Firstly, you should be able to explain the economic problem of scarcity. Want to look at what that economic problem of scarcity is. Then you should be able to explain the meaning of unlimited needs and wants and scarce resources. You should also be able to distinguish between scarce goods and free goods. We are also going to look at an explanation of the 3 fundamental questions. Describe and distinguish between factors of production and give examples of each. Then lastly, you should be able to explain the concept of opportunity cost. Right, so these are the 6 items that we want to focus on in this particular class.
Okay.
So the first one, we want to look at the economic problem of scarcity. I don't know, what do you understand? What is scarcity? Or how does scarcity arise?
As maybe something that is hard to obtain.
Something that is hard to obtain. But can you explain a little bit? What do you mean by saying something that is hard to obtain?
Like it's very rare to find it.
It's
being
very
on a risk. Yeah.
All right. If you look at us as individuals, there are things that we need, is it?
Yes.
Can you give me examples of things that we need and want? Or perhaps maybe we can start with our needs first.
Okay, our needs are food, water, shelter, and clothes.
Yes, exactly. So those are needs, which means when you look at needs, basically you're looking at things that you cannot live without, is it? You've mentioned food. We all need food. We can't survive without food, right? We all need water, right? We all need shelter. But what else do we need? We need clothing. I think you mentioned it. Yes, we need clothing. These are our needs, which means you can't really survive without them. Then we also have got wants.
Yes.
What are wants?
Phones, TV, radio.
Maybe a car.
Yeah.
Mentioned a television set, right? And then radio, right? What else?
And telephones.
All right, yes, your phone, maybe a PC. These are classed as ones, right? We can actually live without a car, a television, a phone, a PC, right?
Yes.
When you look at these things, our needs and wants, are they limited or unlimited?
They are unlimited.
Yes, they are said to be unlimited, right? Needs and wants, they are unlimited. Once someone gets food, for example, if you get food, it doesn't mean that you are satisfied with that particular type of food that you're eating.
Yes.
There's always something better that you can look forward to. You can always
Yes.
look for a better alternative, is it? The same applies with shelter. If a person gets shelter, which is a need, over time they would get unsatisfied with that. They would always want more. The same applies
Yes.
with a car. Get maybe it's a cheap car. After a certain period of time, you get unsatisfied with it, and then you always prefer, or you'd always want a better car, maybe one that is fast, right? Or maybe one that is much better in terms of appearance, is it?
Yes.
Yes. So as you can see, our needs and wants, they are never limited. We say that they are unlimited, right? But how do
Okay.
we meet? What do we use to meet these needs and wants? What is the means
Mm,
that we use to meet these needs and wants?
I forgot.
Because we want to look at, remember, the main thing here, of course, we started by looking at unlimited needs and wants, is it? But for us to be
Yes.
able to understand what scarcity really is, we cannot really escape from defining the needs and wants, is it? Right? We have
Yes.
already seen that these are unlimited, right?
Mm,
So
yes.
how does a person get to have the food, clothing, car? How are these things met? What is used to produce food or to produce a car? That is what I mean.
Is it? Ah, to produce technology.
Yes, or
Mm,
we use resources.
yeah.
To get car, we use resources. To get shelter, clothing, water, clean water to drink, food, we are going to use resources. So resources are the means that we use to meet the needs and wants of individuals. Right? So can we say that the resources, are they limited or unlimited?
Unlimited.
Okay, all right. Or maybe for you to understand, let's start by looking at the different types of resources.
Okay.
Can you give me examples of resources that you know?
Mm, on like any resources that can produce anything.
Yeah.
Mach
Resources.
resources like machinery, equipment, and what is it?
Yes, yes, it's very true. Uh-huh. Right. In terms of resources, we have got land.
Yeah.
It's a resource. For us to produce food, we need land, right?
Yeah.
For us to produce maybe clothing, to have clothes that we're wearing, they need to be grown, is it, in a piece of land? So we need land. So land is a resource.
Okay.
Other examples of resources?
Equipment.
Yes, those are man-made. Of course, the resources, you can group them into two types, like man-made resources and natural resources, right? So man-made
Yes.
resources, you've mentioned like machinery, right?
Yes.
Just say man-made resources. Land, which represents all the natural resources. So in economics, whenever we say land, we are talking about things that were made by God.
Okay.
Yes.
Which
Or
basically naturally made.
yes, those are natural resources. So we use man-made and natural resources to meet our needs and wants. So when you look at land, is the land that we have to grow food, is it limited or it's unlimited?
It's limited.
Yes, it is limited. All the resources that we use to meet our needs and wants, they are said to be limited.
Okay.
So all the resources, they are limited. The needs and the wants, they are limited. Then the means to which we use to satisfy those needs, they are limited. So that brings now to the problem of scarcity. Scarcity arises because we have got limited resources. Is it? Scarcity arises because we have limited resources. We have limited resources to meet what? To meet our unlimited needs and wants. Needs and
what?
So that is what basically scarcity, the problem of scarcity is all about. It's all about that difference which exists between resources and the needs and wants. The resources that we use, they are limited, and the needs and wants, they are said to be unlimited. So there is imbalance between the two. So that imbalance which exists, that is what you are calling the problem of scarcity.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So that means, okay, just developing this concept a little bit further. That means if people are presented with limited resources, if we are presented with limited resources, that means we have to make a choice, right?
Yes.
We have mentioned land before. Land is a resource which is limited.
Limited.
We're going to make a choice between maybe you want to grow food on the land, or can we put an office block, or we can use the land for what other purpose can we use the land for?
Maybe from, how can I put it? Like manufacturing office. It's like an head warehouse.
Yes. Or maybe to build a shelter. Let's say to build a shelter. Even a warehouse, like what you said is too fine. Yes. So in this case, like we said, we need food, is it? We need to have this office block. We also need to have shelter. Right? But we cannot use our land to produce all of these things at once. Why is that so? Because the land is scarce. So a choice has to be made. Whether we're going to use a piece of land to produce food, or we're going to use that piece of land to construct either an office block or a residential area. So we always have to make choices when we are presented with scarcity. So in economics, look at what we're going to start now in economics. you want to satisfy these needs and wants, is it through food, office, and shelter. What we are studying now in economics, we don't just want to make a choice, is it? Maybe we just want to use land for food or for office or for shelter. But what we are particularly interested in is to make a maximum use of the land, or to make an efficient use of the land. That is what we are actually studying in economics. We are studying how we can make an efficient use of the scarce resources.
Okay. Right.
So whenever we make choices, there's this concept that also comes up, which is called the opportunity cost. Let me also combine it so it can fit here perfectly. Opportunity cost. We are deciding on what you're going to use the land for. If you can be able to rank the choices, so we're saying these are choices or options that you are presented with as to how you can use a resource land, is it? Either you can produce food, office block, or a residential area. Right.
Okay.
So if you are able to rank, when I say rank in this case, I mean you're able to determine like this particular course of action is better as compared to this one. Right? So let's have example. Production of food is the best option. That is option number one. Construction of an office block is the second best use of resources. Then the construction of a residential area is the third best use of resources. If an individual goes ahead to use the land to produce food, that land could also have been used to produce an office block, is it? Or to produce shelter.
Shelter.
What you are calling now opportunity cost. You are looking at the cost of a particular course of action in terms of the best alternative use of resources. So I want you to understand that. When you look at opportunity cost, we are looking at a course of action that you have taken. Then you are expressing the cost of that course of action in terms of the next best use of resources. So if you use the land to produce food, what was the next best course of action that a person could have done?
Okay.
I'm asking you a question.
After when you've
remember we have ranked our choices. Food is the best, followed by office, followed by shelter. Right? So we are saying, if you did not produce food, you could have gone for an office block or a shelter. Right? But what you're calling now an opportunity cost, let's say you go ahead to produce food. The opportunity cost of this course of action, that is the production of food, it is expressed in terms of the next best alternative use of resources. So which means alternatively, you could have used the land to produce an office block or to construct a residential area. Yes. So opportunity cost now, it becomes the cost of producing food in terms of the number of office blocks that you could have constructed. Yet you constructed those office blocks.
Okay.
That is opportunity cost.
Okay.
So opportunity cost, you're always looking at alternatives. What else could you have done with the resources that are available? So if you pursue a particular course of action, then the cost of doing that is expressed in terms of whatever that you have forgone, whatever best use of resources that you could have indulged in. That is what you are calling opportunity cost.
Opportunity cost.
Right. So I'm sure you have seen a chain of reactions or a chain of events that we have explained. Right?
Mm.
We started with the resources that we are using to meet our unlimited wants. Is that we have got limited resources to meet the unlimited ones.
And
Hence, individuals, you have to make choices. So whenever a choice is made, it leads to opportunity cost.
okay. So basically, which means after we have done with the limited and unlimited resources, ne, we are left with, which means basically when we are done with limited and unlimited, we are left with a choice. Then on that choice, we have to see the opportunity cost of the thing that we could have done.
Yes, 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 yes. Something like that. One. Let me just use whiteboard to quickly
Okay.
summarize it.
Okay.
We are saying that individuals have got needs and wants, is it? Right.
Yes.
We have needs and wants. Right. These needs and wants, we are saying that they are unlimited. Right. Then what do we use to meet this? We're going to use the resources. And resources are limited. We're going to use the resources to meet the needs and the wants. Right. So because resources are limited, this leads to choice being made. We have to make a choice.
Okay.
A choice as to what is the best use of resources to which we can put them to. And whenever we make a choice, that means there are other things that we have forgone. So a choice is associated with opportunity cost. Associated with opportunity cost. You are making a choice as to which particular need, which particular want to satisfy, is it? But remember, when
Yes.
needs are wants, we have looked at, we have got food, right? We have got shelter, maybe we've got a car, right? We are using resources to have these things, but we can't have all of them at once. You can't have food, you can't have shelter, you can't have car, all those things, you can't have them all at once because the resources, they are limited. So what did you do?
Okay.
You have to make a choice. Is it whether to use the resource to get food, to use the resources to get shelter, to use the resources to get a car, whatever it is. So whenever we make that choice, whether to produce food or shelter, then we can talk about opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost of producing food, you look at whatever that you are not getting, is it? If you produce food, what are you not getting? What is the best thing that you're not getting? You're not getting shelter. Then opportunity cost of producing food, you're expressing it now in terms of whatever the next things that you could have been getting. That is the opportunity cost. The same applies if you go to you have shelter. The next best thing that could you have gotten maybe was a car. The opportunity cost of having a shelter, it is expressed in terms of the number of cars that you are not getting. That is
Well,
the
okay.
concept of opportunity cost.
Okay.
Yes. So like I said, economics, we are dealing with the best, we are dealing with choices as to maximize the use of the available resources. You want to have maximum use so that you can have a maximum satisfaction of the use of resources. You don't want to underutilize our resources. Neither do we also want to overutilize them. But you want to have an optimum use of these resources to get maximum satisfaction. So that is what we are studying in microeconomics. We are studying the decisions, the choices that are made by individuals, is it? When we say individuals, we mean households, we mean firms, we also mean government units. So those three market participants, we're going to look at market participants. Those three units or market participants, they make choices. Choices are made in such a way as to maximize the use of resources so that they can get maximum satisfaction. That is microeconomics all about. So everything that you're going to be studying, it has to do with making maximum use of resources through choices that are made. That is all that you're going to be looking at. But of course, you're going to be looking at that from different perspectives. Is it? Are you going to look from the perspective of households? Or are going to look at it from the perspective of firms or from the perspective of government?
Okay.
So the next aspect, we also want to distinguish between scarce goods and free goods.
Okay.
Scarce goods and free goods. What do you think are scarce goods?
Goods that when you have to obtain them, it's like a transaction, you have to pay for them.
All right. You have to pay for them. Okay, what about free goods?
Free goods are goods that are being done for you, but you have paid them through text.
All right. Okay, fine. So let's look at this definition of a scarce good. A scarce good is one for which the choice of one alternative requires that another be given up. That is a scarce good. Is a good for which the choice of one alternative requires that another be given up.
Okay.
That is a scarce good. An example is a piece of land. Like I mentioned, land is an example of a scarce good, which means that we can build a house on the land, right? Or we can put a gas station, or we can create a small park on the land, or we can actually leave it underdeveloped. We can't have all of these things at once. Like I mentioned, that is a scarce good. So a scarce good is one whereby whenever you make one choice, then you have to give up the other ones. If you choose to put a gas station, you can't put a small park, you can't construct a house, you can't leave it underdeveloped. So that is a scarce good. It's one whereby if ever you use it for something else, you have to give up its use on something else. That is a scarce good. So there are so many examples of scarce goods. Mentioned here, it's a piece of land is a scarce good. What are the examples of scarce good can you think about? Resources in such a way that once you use it for one thing, or for one purpose, you can't use it for the other alternative purpose.
Yes.
Which one do you have?
Oh, you can build them. a private hospital and shops.
Yes, on a piece of land, is it? But my
Yes.
question is, land is one example. What other examples of scarce goods can you think about?
Okay. Mm,
Even time.
the,
Your time, is it?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now you are studying, is it?
Yes.
Which means you are using your time. Time is a resource. You are using your time to study an economic class. What other alternatives could you have used your time for? If you did not attend this class,
You could have been
what else could you have been done? Could you have been doing with your time?
doing other modules.
Yes. Or what else apart from studying? What else could you be using your time for?
Watching TV.
Exactly. Yes. Watching television, maybe going for a shopping,
Yes.
seeing your relatives, etc. So time is also another good example of a scarce good, because once you use your time for something else, you can't use that portion of it to do something that you could have done, is it? Time is a scarce
Yes.
good because once you use it for one thing, then the other alternatives you have to give them up.
Yes.
So one last example of a scarce good.
How can it be? Uh,
One last example of a scarce good.
I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think even yourself, because you can be doing one thing and if you're doing something, you have to leave something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how to put it.
All right, all right. Maybe okay, it's fine. You can just find a way of trying to say it, but there's so many examples, right? Okay, but I get what you're trying to say. Right. So let's move on. We've seen what a scarce good is. What about a free good? What do you think a free good
Free.
is? So yes,
Maybe things that you can just do that maybe they don't require you to give up on in something.
yes. So a free good is one, right? So this is the definition.
Oh, okay.
A free good is one for which the choice of one use does not require that we give up another. It is the opposite of a scarce good. A free good is one for which the choice of one use does not require that we give up the use of another. And there are fewer examples of free good or free goods rather in the real world. Many of the goods that we have, they are scarce. Just a very, very few are said to be free good. Right? An
Okay.
example of a free good is gravity. That is the one that is given here. Do you know what is called gravity?
Yeah.
What is gravity? I don't want, of course, a very technical definition, but we just want the general idea of what gravity is.
Gravity.
What,
I think it balances what do you call it?
it is the one that keeps us on the surface of the earth. That is gravity.
Yeah.
It is the one that keeps us on the surface of the earth, is it? Yes. So
Yes.
when one uses gravity, does it mean that the next person will not have it? Maybe they can float into space because they don't have it.
No. No.
Because we can, all of us, we can use gravity at once because gravity is a free good. Once I use it, someone else can also use it at the same time, is it?
Can still use it.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's a very good example of a free good. Even even outer space, is it? Or we can think about the stars that we see. If you're enjoying to watch or to view the stars in the air, I mean, in the skies rather, if you're enjoying, does it mean that the next person who also enjoys watching them, the moment you are viewing them, then the next person will not be able to enjoy because all of the views, they are focused on you, or you are the one who is focusing on it? Does it mean that?
But it's not that I didn't understand it very clearly.
All right. I am saying, let's say you enjoy watching the stars at night, right?
Yes.
You don't have to pay anything for that, is it? It's a free good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So does it mean that when you are viewing the stars at night, then the next person who also enjoys doing the same thing, they will not be able to view the stars, I mean the stars in the night, because you are viewing them?
No.
It means you can actually view the stars all at the same time. So yes, so viewing the stars, or rather the stars, these are also a very good example of free good, is it? Because when one is enjoying viewing them, they cannot exclude the other people from also enjoying to view them. So they are free good.
Okay.
I don't know if you understand the idea.
Yeah, this one I understand because it's something that we all people can use use it without paying for it.
Yes, but okay, I don't want you to think about this in terms of money, is it?
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Okay. Like people can use it, can share.
Yes, exactly. So don't think about free good in terms of money. No, that's not how we define it in economics. We already talk about money in economics. Economics is not the study of money, basically. We are looking at the resources. So a free good, we are looking at a resource that when one is using it, it does not mean the next person will not be able to use it for other purposes. They can also still use it at the same time because it's a free good. It's available to everyone. So in a way, it is more like it's unlimited in a sense. So that is a free good. But there are very few free good in existence. All right. So we also want to move on to fundamental questions. Right. Explain the 3 fundamental questions. We have mentioned choices that are made. Once a choice has been made, or in the process of making it, there are 3 questions which are asked. The 3 W's. Right? The first one is what to produce, how to produce, and for whom. And for whom to produce that good.
Okay.
So these are the 3 W's. First W is for what? The second W is for how. Then the third W is for whom.
Okay.
These are the 3 W's, or the 3 fundamental questions in economics. The what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce those goods to. So we want to make use of an example so that you can see how we apply the 3 W's. Right? Okay. Let's think about the what question. How does it arise, the what question?
What you want to, what do you think people could want? Yes.
Right.
So leaving you with the choice to decide on.
The what is associated with production.
Yes.
The what question is associated with production. This has to do with what particular product or good to produce. What resources can we use to produce it with? Right. So the what question has to do with production itself, is it? You are thinking of a particular good that we can produce, is it? So what to produce? What things can we use to produce it, is it? So that is the what question. What about the how question?
The equipment to produce.
Yes, exactly. This has to do with the means to produce. Exactly. So the how question has to do with what we are going to use to produce the products with, is it?
Yes.
What about the whom question?
Your target.
Exactly. So this has to do with consumers. That is the whom question, is it? Who is going to consume that particular product, is it? Maybe it's a house that we have constructed, the RDP houses that we constructed, is it? Then the government can ask themselves, who is going to occupy these houses, is it? Are they the poorest people in the economy or in a society? Are they the middle income earners in the society, etc.? So that is the whom question, is it? It has to do with whom, out of those things that have been produced, who are going to benefit from that? That is the whom question.
Okay.
So you actually said it very nice. So that's how you do it. And then lastly, you want to look at, it says describe and distinguish between the factors of production and give examples of each. So we want to look at factors of production. Things that we are going to use to produce goods and services. What things do we use to produce goods and services? We have actually highlighted some of them a little bit. Factors of production. We are looking at things that we use to produce goods and services. Those are factors of production. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be money, in fact. We don't use money to produce goods and services.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Not clearly.
Not. So I was saying, what are the factors of production? What things do we use to produce goods and services? Those are the factors of production. There are four.
It can be land, machinery, workers, and
so we use land. That is number one. To produce goods and services, we need land. You need labor. You mentioned about workers, so this is classed under labor.
Okay, labor.
You also need to use capital. And then lastly, entrepreneurship skills. Entrepreneurship. So these are the four factors of production. Resources which are used up during the production process. Land, like I said before, land, this is to do with anything that is found in nature that can be used to produce something. So land consists of the actual land. It can consist of air that we breathe. It can consist of water. It also consists of trees, the minerals that we can dig from the underground. Is it minerals, gold, diamonds, silver, iron, etc. They are classed under land.
Land.
Then labor, this one is quite straightforward. We are looking at our skills, is it? Our physical capacity to do a particular task. That is labor. And then capital has to do with anything that is man-made. which is used up in the production process. That is classed under capital. So capital includes things such as machinery. You've mentioned machinery. It includes maybe buildings that are used, maybe a warehouse, a motor van that is used to transport goods, etc. So anything that is man-made and used in the production process, that is under capital.
Okay.
What about entrepreneurship?
This one I'm lost. Entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship now has to do with our capacity to combine land, labor, and capital to produce a particular good or service. That is entrepreneurship. We are looking at the capacity of humans to combine, or the skills, the mental skills or the vision that individuals can have, so that they can combine land, labor
and
capital to produce a good. So
to produce
goods or services.
Okay.
So for us, for example, for you to use that phone, it needed an entrepreneur, is it? Someone with the vision to see that, you know, people, they need to use this particular device, is it? So that person with vision, they are able to combine land, labor, and the capital to produce a cell phone. So entrepreneurship has to do with the ability to see, the ability to combine the three factors of production to produce a good and a service.
Okay.